Kezdődik a Red Couch Podcast. Random témák, random beszélgetések. Tartsatok velünk!
Hey there, I'm Peter, and this is the first English episode of the Red Couch Podcast. And my guest today is Andy, aka Andy the Doorbum.
Hello.
And he joins us from overseas, actually from the United States, from California. Andy is a musician and an artist, and we know each other way back when, a few years ago, we met in Szeged when he was touring. Yeah, actually, this might be a good time to explain why the name is Red Couch Podcast. So I used to have like a little thing going on back in Szeged where I was hosting bands who were dropping by to do a show in Szeged. And I'm good friends with the promoters, Thomas and Joseph from Sun City Booking. And they asked me one time, like 5 years ago, if I can accommodate the bands to give them a place to sleep. And I said, sure, why not? And it kind of became its own little thing. So I hosted a bunch of bands from all over, actually, from Hungary, of course, and France, and Belgium, and you name it, but even from overseas, Andy, and actually one time a Mexican band as well. So that's how we know each other. And let me just tell you this right up front, that your concert, man, it was awesome. It was like one of the most enthralling, awesome, artistic, like almost theatrical experience, and it was just mind-blowing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. And thanks for the couch. All the hospitality.
Anytime, man, anytime. Well, yeah, unfortunately I moved to Budapest and I don't really have the couch nor the place anymore, but when I finally managed to get my own place here, I might just reopen the stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So, how are you doing in these, well, extreme times?
Doing pretty well. I was on tour when the pandemic was announced. You know, of course it was happening before that, but when the official announcement came, I was on tour in the northeastern part of the States, and with a band from Ireland called Lankum. And when we started tour, it was everything seemed like it wasn't that big of a deal, and then you know, everything got pretty intense. By the end of it, we didn't know if we were going to get home, and we had some shows cancel at the end, and then I got back to Los Angeles, and they got back to Dublin, and when I got back to Los Angeles, I had to quarantine myself by myself to make sure, you know, I wasn't a risk to anybody. And so I ended up spending about 35 days without leaving my studio and without seeing anybody. And I've since left the house a few times, but yeah, it's just working on music and trying to stay productive in these times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like how did it affect your inspiration or artistic path? Did it affect it at all, or are you working the experience into your music or your lyrics?
Yeah, I definitely am. I've written some songs that are definitely about the, you know, being isolated for 35 days, because that was a bit of a new experience. But I mean, you know, a lot of my songs are kind of dark imagery in general, you know, and deal with topics that might seem even a little more relevant now with what's going on. But so I think maybe I don't know, my mind's always kind of been on the page of trying to process tough and dark times, and trying to find the beauty in those moments, and, you know, trying to see the positives that can come out of it. So it's working its way in there, but maybe the songs still sound a lot like they did before anyway.
Well, I'm sure the hardcore fans won't mind that, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, as someone who really appreciates the lyric side of music, I must say you have pretty freaking amazing lyrics. So
Thanks.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to listening to the new stuff.
Yeah, I have quite a bit in the works. I already had a new album finished that I was planning to start pressing when I got back from that tour, but because of the financial uncertainty right now, it's going to be postponed, I'm sure. Um, but yeah, I've also got almost another new record done, and here relatively soon, maybe by the time this is out, I'll have released a record of cover songs that are exclusively by friends of mine. That was kind of the rule that I set for myself, that the songs had to be by people that I know personally. So yeah, that hopefully that'll be coming out within a week or so. Maybe by the time this is out, it'll be up for free for people to download.
So let me get this straight. So you did cover of other people's music who you know and you enjoy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's finished. So my plan is to put it out once it's mastered in the next week or two. Just since everybody's kind of stuck at home, and
yeah,
I figured it'd be nice just to offer people something for free that they can check out, and maybe turn them on to some artists that I really admire who are friends of mine too.
That's an awesome idea. And where will these songs be available? Like which platforms?
They'll be on Bandcamp to download for free if people want, and I also plan to put them up on all the streaming platform. Put it up on all the streaming services, Spotify and Apple Music, and all the
awesome.
All those lots of different ones. I use a distribution service. I think it puts it up on 20 different streaming sites.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put a link to your YouTube and your Bandcamp in the description of this video. So
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, glad to do it.
Yeah, thank you.
And I do believe you did an interesting thing yesterday, like it was an online concert of sorts.
Yeah, I did a live stream with some good friends of mine. It was actually people from all over the world. There were some artists from Czech Republic, Austria, several American artists, an English artist from England, and an artist, my friend of mine named Juan Chi, who's living in Florida, but he's from Venezuela. He's kind of in limbo at the moment in Florida. Yeah, it was phenomenal. It's the fourth or fifth one I've done since quarantine. Those things have been showing up quite a bit. Musicians trying to figure out a way to still perform for people, and it's a learning experience. I think most people weren't very accustomed to figuring out how to get good sound and things through those, but it's been really awesome and really enjoyable, and nice way to connect with people. And some people have donated to the artists through those things, which is really helpful during this time for us, for sure.
Cool. Was it on YouTube Live?
No, this one, I've done several different ones, some through Instagram, some through Twitch. This one was exclusively in a Facebook group that was public, so everyone could come and just watch it, but this one was only on Facebook.
And I guess people could donate to the bands?
Yeah, everybody just put up a link to their, Venmos or Cash Apps or PayPals or whatever, just in case people wanted to. It was free to watch. There was no pressure to donate, but it was an option if people, had some spare cash and wanted to donate it to the artists.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, artists are one group who is hit pretty hard by this whole pandemic thing. So actually, I was like 2 podcasts ago, I was talking with a friend of mine who is a drummer in a Hungarian band, and we were talking about this, that everyone who can should support their favorite artists. Now is the best time to do that. So if you want to buy merch or records or just downloads from iTunes or whatever, this would be the time to help out artists.
Yeah, for sure. Because artists, bands and musicians especially make most of their money from shows, and even when things kind of start to get back to normal with things opening back up, concerts are going to be the last thing
Yeah.
that happen because it's a gathering of people. Events are going to be the more delayed than stores and things opening. So it's yeah, artists are going to be hit pretty hard, I think.
That sucks, because like, it doesn't seem like that's much of a necessity, but I do believe that especially music is just something that, I don't know, I think it communicates with your soul essentially, and I think it's a very important sustenance, at least for me, and I think a
Yeah,
lot of people are like that too. So
yeah. I mean, I think one thing that this quarantine has been doing that's interesting, though, is that I think maybe it's showing people who didn't think about it very much before the value of creative work, because that's mostly what people are consuming right now. They're watching films or shows, they're listening to podcasts, they're listening to music, they're looking at art, because they're at home. And I think that actually shows how essential those things are, because when you have nothing else that you can do, those are the things that you want,
yeah,
that
definitely.
give you some kind of hope or give you some kind of emotional response, like uh so I think that's a silver lining to this whole thing, like the hopefully people will value those things a little more in the future, not take them for granted.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know I do because I listen to a bunch of music. I usually do, but I really went overdrive since I'm in quarantine. Well,
Yeah.
self-imposed, but yeah. Yeah, and I really, really, really miss the shows. I mean, like, I always appreciated a good concert, but now especially, like, I cannot wait to everything to get back somewhat normal and we can all go to shows again. Because, yeah, like, the thing that most hit me the hardest during this time is, like, this week our government announced that all gatherings above 500 people are basically banned till mid-August. And I had a ton of concerts coming up, and I was really hoping that maybe in June they can be held, and I can go to those things. And like some bands that I was waiting like 19 years to see live, and yeah, it really fucking sucked that it got all cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, in some places I'm hearing, just from being involved in groups for booking and stuff like that, in a lot of places I'm hearing people saying not to expect to be able to tour until next year.
Yeah,
So
ooh,
I don't know. I mean, that's just a guess, but
yeah. Oh man, that really sucks.
yeah, I see a lot of things getting rescheduled for the fall, but I don't know. I was actually going to come to Europe, and I had been in talks with my friend who books me in Czech Republic about doing some shows in August, September. And I was going to book, a bigger European tour around it if I did that. And
Mm-hmm.
right now it's not looking so good. I'm not sure, but
Oh, yeah.
just those things, you have to plan them so far in advance, and if you don't know if things are going to be open, it's difficult to book something, and to book flights and all that stuff if you don't know
Yeah.
if it's going to be able to happen. So it's tricky.
Well, when this is over and you can schedule a tour, well, I can give you a few contacts if you want to come to Hungary again. So
Yeah, I'd love to.
maybe in
Szeged is actually
Budapest.
the only place well, I played in Budapest once, but yeah, I don't know anybody there, so I'd love to come back and play more parts of the country.
Yeah, well, you know that Sun City Booking can hook you up in Szeged, and I think I can manage to do something here in Budapest too. So
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to come back.
yeah, that would be awesome.
Could give you a hearty Agashegadra.
Awesome. Yeah, and so speaking of touring, I believe you already told us that you did a bunch of touring all over the world, and please tell me about that. Like, where did you go, and what were the most, not exotic, but what were the most peculiar places you ever been, or the most beautiful, and what were your best experiences on the road?
Yeah, it's I've been lucky enough to tour through most of America. Toured in Mexico, Canada, all over Europe. It's a hard one to say what places I like the best. I end up liking places the best that where I have the most friends, you know. So Czech Republic has been really good to me just because I've, my friend who books me there has booked me just in all these little towns where people usually don't tour, you know, and so I've made a ton of friends there and seen a really large amount of that country. So I've just gotten to know it really well, and because of that, I really like it. I mean, I like it anyway, you know, it's a beautiful place, but he also books me in these really interesting spots, like in Telch there. I played in this, the mortuary of an old cemetery.
Wow.
That's in the forest, you know, and so you can't park there. So there's one parking space where the person performing parks, and everyone else walks like 3 kilometers from the town to get to the show. And they have a generator outside, so you can't hear it to have power because there's no electricity there. And
I mean,
and,
knowing your show, I think that backdrop worked very well.
It was amazing. You know, and I didn't expect many people to show up. I had never played in that town. And even when I got there, the promoter said, you know, maybe 10 or 15 people will show up, but it'll be nice. You know, it's a small little building. And I said, yeah, that's perfect. And there probably 30 or 40 people walked in the rain to come to this.
Wow.
Just me. You know, there was no local or anything. It was just me.
That's awesome.
Performing. And it was a magical place. And then at the end of it, they said, well, you can come stay in my place in Telch, or you can sleep here in the mortuary if you want to. So I chose to sleep alone in the mortuary, and there were only candles. There's no electricity, and they had to lock the gate when they left, so I was just locked into the... It was very peaceful.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They also left me with a lot of homemade slivovica, and it was, you know, really, really wonderful. Yeah, that was one of my more memorable experiences. But I really love touring in Europe because there are a lot of shows that happen in places like this, in like old churches and old castles. And for what I do, you know, the place where it is almost like a character in the performance. You know, it changes the way things, you know, creates the atmosphere even more for the kind of theatrical stuff. And so I really love that. Yeah, some other places, you know, a lot of times when I tour, I try to book shows in places just because I want to see those places. Like I booked show in Romania because I really wanted, there's this drive, the Transfiguration, that goes up through the Transylvanian Alps. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to see that part of the country, you know, or that part of the world. So I booked a show. I drove, 6 hours to Romania out of the way on my tour route just so I could have a day off there to see it, because I was curious about it. And that's kind of the wonderful thing about touring, you can, it's like a vehicle to get to do what you love, but also you get to, I love to travel and see things, and I love history and culture. So it's like a good excuse to get to do those things, and still have like a purpose.
Yeah.
So it's, I really love that. Trying to think of other places. Ireland is also really good to me. I have some very dear friends in a band there that have asked me to, they're doing really well for themselves. They just, that band Lankum that I was on tour with in the States, they just won essentially like the top award in Ireland for Album of the Year. And they always ask me, to open up for them, which is like nice crowds of people who have no idea what I'm gonna do, and just having people, have that kind of faith in my work and asking me to do those things is pretty incredible feeling.
Yeah, yeah, and the show you did back in Szeged, like yeah, definitely the backdrop was the old ruin of a castle, and
Yeah,
it's
it was great.
created a fantastic atmosphere.
I was so excited when Thomas told me that it was gonna be there, and when I saw the place, it was really wonderful.
Yeah,
Like I said, I really want to go back there, and I really want to come to Hungary again. Because it's one of those countries, that I have really enjoyed myself in, but I haven't gotten to explore it that much because I didn't know that many people there.
yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the time when I can come back.
Yeah, well, what I really stuck with me regarding your show is that when it was over, I was like looking around to see the faces of people, like, because I know we experienced something that you don't experience every day. It was really hard to find adjectives for it, but real thrilling, and it was a real experience, and like everyone jaw was just on the floor, and like, oh my god, and everybody started applauding. Yeah, it was a freaking amazing show. So yeah, listeners, if you can, watch Andy, because he's awesome, and he puts
Yeah,
on
I
a
appreciate it.
hell of a show.
Yeah, that was the response there was really wonderful. It's one of those things, like when you go to a country where you haven't been before, you really don't know, especially, for me doing something that's a little unusual, or not maybe the thing that you see all the time.
Yeah,
It's always hard to tell how people are gonna receive it. I mean, you never know. There are cultural differences and things. I mean, it's hard to say sometimes what people will think. But yeah, in Szeged, it was a wonderful crowd, and I was really happy that people seemed to enjoy it so much. I had a wonderful time with it.
yeah. Well, we definitely did enjoy it a lot, and yeah, it was a great time, and it's a very vivid memory. So yeah, it must have been very awesome.
Yeah, for me too, it was a vivid memory.
Yeah. Just a little side note. The other thing I remember is that you were traveling with a friend called Ned,
Ned,
and
yeah.
yeah, and oh my god, I remember that he snored so loudly. I mean, I'm used to people snoring, but oh my god. And I couldn't believe you were sleeping like a baby next to him. And I was like, how the hell can you sleep?
Probably the hearing loss from playing music.
I mean, that helps, yeah. Uh,
I carry around this little field recorder, and I record, just sounds that I
yeah.
hear along my travels, and I use them a lot in my music. But I have some good recordings of Ned snoring.
I mean, sorry, Ned. Love you, buddy. Like, sorry for outing you.
I think he'll get a kick out of it. He knows he snores.
uh, yeah, and you were telling me about you got a new album in the works and a cover album as well.
Yeah.
And you're planning a European tour. And any other plans in the near or far future for your art?
Yeah, I mean, mostly just right now I'm focusing on those records. Like I said, the one was getting ready to start to be pressed. So, just, kind of focusing on that and rolling that out as soon as I can. And then the cover album, I decided to release that just because the nature of what's going on right now. And then I've almost got like another record worth of material just from the quarantine, that I've been working on. I've also been working on a collaborative record with my friend Squaloscope from Vienna, and that also happened because of the quarantine. We were just kind of working on a song, and we ended up, I think now we have 6 or 7 songs that will probably turn into a record that will come out at some point. Yeah, and other than that, I've been writing a lot of poetry. I'll probably try to put out another little poetry book. And yeah, once that new album comes out, the one that was going to be pressed of my original work, whenever it's possible for that to come out, I definitely will be doing a lot of touring, touring in Europe, United States for sure. So yeah, I'm just focusing on those things right now, and it's a little strange because of the uncertainty. So I'm also just trying to make stuff as much as I can, like working on masks and things and drawing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to keep myself occupied because a lot of the plans that I had are on hold, so it's like there's no sense in focusing on those too much at the moment because there's not a whole lot that I can do other than just keep making more stuff and trying to hopefully come out of this with a whole lot of things to put into the world.
Yeah, well, that is my escape too, so I figured as long as I have all this free time, I might as well do some productive, what I like to do, and I was meaning to restart the podcast because it was on hiatus for a year or so, and felt like the perfect time to do that, and it's really cool because it's a really good escape for me because not only I can produce something and put something out in the world, I can always talk to a bunch of my friends, so it's awesome all around. So yeah, where can the good people find you on socials?
I'm on Facebook, Andy the Doorbum, Instagram at Andy the Doorbum, one word, Twitter the same, at Andy the Doorbum, one word. If you go to andythedoorbum.com, it'll take you straight to my Bandcamp, where all my stuff is there.
YouTube?
YouTube, also Andy the Doorbum. Pretty much, if you type Andy the Doorbum into a search engine, I'm the only person that you'll find. It's not a name that I think anybody else would want. So when you look for it, I'm the person that you find.
Okay, now I remembered when we were having a couple of beers in front of the museum and you told me the story of your name. So if it's not a secret, can you tell the listeners where this Andy the Doorbum comes from?
Yeah, so I was working in an old venue. It's one of the oldest punk rock clubs in America called The Milestone. And it's in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I used to live, where I grew up. And I was working the door for shows, taking the admission and giving wristbands for, I was working 7 days a week there. And I worked there for 11 years. And when I first started working there, I was 20 years old, and I was recording on a cassette 4-track in the door booth while I was working, and that's actually my first record is that stuff. But I was recording it just for fun, and then people kept coming in and asking when I was gonna put it out, and I had never thought about putting it out or anything. So finally, I decided that I would and see if people would buy it at the door, but I didn't know what to call myself. And people had started calling me, instead of a door guy, because I had a long beard and I never combed my hair, they were calling me a door bum, like, someone who asks for money, begs for money at the door. So, people just started calling me Andy the Doorbum, and they had been for a while. And when I went to put that record out, I thought, well, everyone, at the time, only people in that town were going to be buying the record. So everyone already knew me as that, and there would be no mistaking which Andy it was if they said Andy the Doorbum. So I just thought it would be a good name, from my little town. And then, all these years later, it stuck. I don't.
That's an awesome name and an awesome story.
Yeah, I don't know if it fits my music so well, but at least it's not a name. There's not like 10 bands trying to call themselves that or something.
I think it fits perfectly because it's an original name for an original piece of art. So I think it fits well.
Oh, great! Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I always was curious if I made a mistake by picking it.
I think you should keep it. It's cool.
Well, at this point, I think I'm pretty locked into it. I don't think it's foolish to change it now.
Okay, so thanks, man, for doing this podcast with me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And I want to thank the listeners for listening as well. Until next time, bye.
See ya.
Ez volt a Red Couch Podcast. Ha tetszett az adás, lájkoljatok és kövessetek minket YouTube-on, Soundcloud-on és Facebookon. Legközelebb találkozunk!